Hey guys, welcome to Ringsiders. We have a very special guest. We have James from the Love of Wrestling. How you doing, man?
I'm very well, thank you, gents. Thank you very much for having me on.
Now, I know we were talking before we hit record, so we'll mention it again. Callum fell in love with that backdrop straight away, didn't he? Which is
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love how bad it is. It's not nice to look at, but that's why I love it. I love crappy 90s retro merchandise, and that's it.
Exactly. It came from that era when WWF would just put in their name on anything. I mean,
anything.
I've got some Valentine's Day cards. There's obviously the infamous Stone Cold Steve Austin condom as well, which is out there. Yeah, there is a Stone Cold condom as well.
No, there isn't.
I was just gonna mention that actually. Yeah, I remember I was listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast a while ago, and they was doing a Stone Cold episode. And he actually mentioned the condom. Yeah.
Was the slogan the Stone Cold condom to cover your Texas rattlesnake? Because
you would hope so. Yeah.
It must have been.
And I think that the thing as well, which is quite ironic, is that when you think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, you think of obviously the breaking glass, and that's the last thing you want with a condom, really.
You don't want it to break, no.
No, definitely not. Hopefully it doesn't make the sound. No.
I'd love that. But was it actually a thing? Did it actually get sold?
Yeah. I think it was. I think they were trying to add a bit of an adult market, weren't they, at the time? I don't think they got into the beers and stuff like that. So they were just putting the name on anything.
There it is. Yeah.
Amazing stuff.
I've just Googled it now just to see it for myself, and there it is. It's a Stone Cold WWF Attitude Era Durex condom.
That's right. Yeah, it comes in a little box as well. So
that's
they
right.
Go for a fair bit of cash as well these days. I mean,
you know what? I might treat myself on payday just to have that little bit of retro merchandise, I think. I think it's probably too old to ever use, but I think it would be a talking piece if ever, someone came in and I was like, oh, I've got this Stone Cold condom. It's a nice break.
I'd get it framed, put it on your mantelpiece.
That's it, yeah.
It's a talking point when the family come around for Christmas.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, James, Callum's in the same house as me. I don't want to listen to Stone Cold Steve Austin's condom next door to me. That's the last thing I want to hear. I do not need that in my life.
Moving on, Jamie.
Yes. But yeah, anyway, I mean, we're huge fans, and we're hoping to get there next year. I mean, how did it all come about? I mean, the first one, what was the original idea behind doing this?
So, For Love of Wrestling really came from Monopoly Events. You may be aware of Monopoly Events, which is almost like the umbrella, the umbrella overriding company. They've done cons for years. They're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, convention organizer in Europe now. Everything from Comic Con Scotland, Comic Con Manchester, Comic Con Liverpool, which is going ahead later this year, For the Love of Sci-Fi, For the Love of Horror, and they'd had a couple of wrestling guests in the past. Ones that make me actually really jealous, which we've not had at For the Love of Wrestling yet. So they had, I think they had Sting 1 year, they had Edge the year after, and I think the same year they had Edge, they may have had Gail Kim as well. So what I think Andy, who's the boss, saw quite quickly is that there was an appetite there. And Andy's a fan, Andy's like Ken Evils, that's why he's so good at what he does. And Andy picked up on quite quickly that there was an appetite there for a wrestling specific convention. So the first one was, oh goodness, you know what? I blinked before the pandemic, and now it's 2021. So the first event was 2019. And that's around the time that I became involved. And I've exhibited at For Love of Wrestling as well as doing some other things. And so the first one was in 2019. I mean, for a first convention, the lineup was absolutely incredible. I mean, the first two names that were launched back in 2019 were Ric Flair and Bret Hart. And I was thinking, well, there's your headliners right there. And then very soon after, the Undertaker got announced for his very first ever UK convention appearance, which was absolutely incredible. And it, I think of other people who were there. I mean, like Rob Van Dam were there, the Outsiders were there, Eric Bischoff was there. So many other stars. Bruce the Bar Beefcake, Marty Jannetty, people like that. Booker T, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, $1 Million Man, Teddy DiBiase. I mean, there were so many people there over that weekend, and that was the first one, and it was a roaring success. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan now for over 30 years. I've watched maybe over the last decade, you know, conventions and Comic Cons and all that geek chic in the last 10 years has just blown up. It's absolutely snowballed. And I've been really jealous for the last decade that I saw, you know, these different conventions popping up for different things. I mean, like tattoo conventions, shoe conventions, comic conventions. I was reading last week, there's going to be a sort of trainer convention soon in Manchester for like rare Air Maxes and things like that, and Jordans and things like that. So you know, conventions are so big now. Everybody's getting one. But when this came about, you know, I was absolutely in awe of it, and I really wanted to be part of it. So I started exhibiting it. So yeah, that's when it started. 2019, huge success. And now, unfortunately, like most things, not much has happened in regards to a convention over the last 18 months because of the pandemic. We were due to obviously hold the convention last year, got pushed back to November, and it was pushed back to May this year. And just because it's the way things have worked out, and do we really want to push it back any further to this year when things might not progress as we would hope? So it's now been pushed back to April 2022. So that's just a little bit of a sort of backstory on where it came from and where it's going in future.
Well, while we're on the subject of the next one that happens, like I said, in 2022, it's already looking absolutely stacked from top to bottom. And the thing is, I've done WrestleCon before while I've been at Mania weekend, and I've done the like the Comic Con MCM and stuff like that, but none of them have this quality of talent like on the shows. Or, you know, this is incredible for a UK-based convention. This would be a big convention anywhere in the world. Like just looking at some of the names here: Shawn Michaels, Kurt Angle, Jeff Hardy, Tori Wilson, Victoria, JBL. You know, how does that happen? How do you get that amount of talent?
I mean, well, and again, it goes back to, you know, Andy, who's the boss, he's got the highest standards when it comes to his events. I mean, and you know, like I say, he's a fan first, and I think his ethos is he does it for the fans, but he almost thinks of himself as a fan. So he almost thinks, would I want to go to that convention? If I wouldn't, then I'm not going to put it on, sort of thing. And you see that when you go to any of his events, how high the standards are. But it's just grown, and I mean, funnily enough, I was talking to Andy about the conversation I had with Eric Bischoff back in 2019, because I interviewed him for our podcast, and I sort of said to him, well, you know, thank you very much for coming over. First of all, I am aware, you know, we are sort of this little island, you know, in the middle of nowhere, and you guys have got to fly perhaps 10, perhaps 14 hours to get over here. And he said, no, he said the UK is somewhere where all the wrestlers want to go. He says outside of North America, he said, everybody in wrestling knows that UK is the biggest market. He said, you know, you've got the best fans. And he was really, really complimentary. You know, he was saying that, you know, the UK fans are different to American fans. He said that convention-wise, he said they came across as a lot more respectful to him. He said, and people just seem to, because it happens so very rarely over here, it seems to, the fans seem to appreciate it more. That was sort of the message he was giving across. And what he also said to me was, he said, what happens very quickly is if any of the wrestlers attend an event in the UK or anywhere in the world, if it goes very, very well, word spreads very, very quickly. If it goes very badly, word spreads very, very quickly. Yeah. And Eric and, you know, just everybody who came to the first one, they just didn't have enough nice things to say. So I think now, when Andy's going back and trying to book people, you know, people are very, very willing to come over. And not just that, I mean, a lot of wrestlers and talent actually reach out to the convention now to see if they can come over and be part of the convention, because it's built a fantastic name. You know, we've got some great social media channels, and I see a lot of the guests we've had in the past speak very, very, very highly of it as well. But yeah, you mentioned the lineup. I mean, I think for me, I always thought, once the 2019 event had been done, and it was a little bit like you know, it was a little bit, you sort of on the come down of it, and then straight away you're thinking, well, how could that, you know, Bret Hart, Ric Flair, the Undertaker is almost like your three main guests. How are they ever going to top that at the next event? And I actually think the lineup for the next one, I think overall, if you take sort of the mean of all the guests, I think it actually has gone up. I think the original one, there was some absolute, you know, marquee headliners, massive names. You don't get any bigger than the Undertaker, do you? Really, no. Especially doing his first one outside of the States. I mean, and Bret Hart and Ric Flair. I mean, they're the two goats that we all argue over day in day out over who is the better. But yeah, I think this year. But then obviously we had medium guests, and then perhaps we had some. I don't want to use the word low, but perhaps some guests that didn't appeal to as many fans out there. Whereas the lineup for next year, it's just astounding. You can tell already people are sort of clicking onto the fact that overall it's a better lineup. I mean, you mentioned some of the names there. I mean, Shawn Michaels for many people is the greatest of all time, and I'm a Bret guy myself, I'll be honest, but yeah, I can completely appreciate why anybody would think that. Jeff Hardy. I mean, Jeff Hardy, just that announcement was incredible, and getting people like Jeff Hardy and JBL, who you mentioned as well, Monopoly have got a wonderful relationship with WWE, so that's how things like that happen. There's and Andy's spoken about that before, that he's got a great relationship with them. We actually did a one-off event in Manchester last year when WWE toured, so that we had Raw and SmackDown as a dual event at the Manchester Arena on the Friday night, and then we also had the Superstars over at the Exhibition Centre in Manchester on the Saturday for a one-day event. And again, it was just an incredible lineup. We got Seth Rollins and Becky there. It was literally just they'd announced their engagement. Who else was over there? We got Bobby Lashley and Bray Wyatt as well. And it was just when Bray Wyatt had come out doing the Fiend thing as well. Yeah. So people went absolutely crazy for it. And then Sasha Banks as well, who was lovely. AJ Styles. I mean, all of these sort of stellar names, which we all know. So, yeah, I mean, everybody's looking forward to the next one. I mean, but we're just reconfirming everybody now because obviously we've moved the date. We've gone back to everybody now, and now we're just waiting for everybody to reconfirm. But already, Shawn Michaels, Jeff Hardy, JBL have all confirmed, and we're just working through the new date with everybody else at the moment. But the plan is to move everybody over, so hopefully next year, and again, I think some of the tag teams are really awesome as well next year. We've got the Steiners obviously coming over, Demolition. I'm a bit of an old school guy myself, so Demolition really appeals to me.
Then I see the Nasty Boys as well.
The Nasty Boys, the Dudley Boys, we've got coming over, as well. So, the lineup is absolutely incredible. It really, really is. I mean, as a wrestling fan, this is, I'm like a kid in a sweet shop.
I mean, we can't wait. We're going to get out there now with Callum. We're coming next year. We can't wait for him.
I'm coming for Shawn Michaels, man. He's my favorite of all time. He's the draw for me. I'm there for Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, Trish Stratus and Tori Wilson. I mean, who didn't have one of their posters on your bedroom wall? Years ago. I think I've still got one on my bedroom wall, actually.
I've got one somewhere. Yeah. I'm the same as coming. I mean, we're very fortunate that obviously we've had the chance to meet some of these guys. I've been to Monopoly events before, so I've met Shawn Michaels. I've met Demolition. Because I'm like yourself. I'm an old school guy. I was really excited when you announced Greg the Hammer Valentine, because I'm a massive Greg Valentine fan. So I mean, he's more the ones for me. I mean, is there certain ones you're looking forward to meeting?
I think for me, I mean, Jeff Hardy's certainly someone I'm looking forward to meeting. Demolition. I mean, for me, the Hart Foundation Demolition tag match at SummerSlam 90, that the best of three falls, that's the greatest tag match. Yeah, it's the best tag match I've ever seen in my life. And I think it might even be the match that actually sort of has snowballed into me being a wrestling fan for 30 years. Yeah. I absolutely love it. So Demolition, definitely. Kurt Angle, of course, the Dudley Boys. I mean, just everybody. And the great thing about the event is the plan is to extend it this year to 3 days. So on the Friday night, we're hoping to have a TNT wrestling show, which is like an extreme wrestling. It's not just extreme wrestling, but it's an extreme theme wrestling show. That will be at a separate event. Then we've got the convention on Saturday. Saturday early evening, we're going to have the Future Shock wrestling show again to showcase all the best of Future Shock's talent. Then after that, an after party, and then obviously the convention and again on a Sunday. And for anybody who's not been there before, if you'd imagine what you would pay what you would pay to just go to, I don't know, an evening with Kurt Angle when he does these tours. You know, what you pay to go and see that. Not only do you get to meet the guests when you buy, for Love of Wrestling, but every single guest does a Q&A, and rather than you having to buy a separate ticket or you having to go into a separate room, there's actually a wrestling ring in the middle of the floor, because it's just a massive collection of, obviously the only people that are there are wrestling fans, and every single person does a Q&A, and they for many people are the highlight of the weekend, because there's nothing off the table. People can ask questions, and obviously because you can tell when the wrestlers get there, a lot of them haven't seen each other in a long time. It's almost like a bit of a boys' weekend away or a girls' weekend away. I mean, it's the Outsiders and Ric Flair and people like that were having a ball last year together, but they seem to sort of, because they're having fun and they're enjoying themselves, and the British fans are so great with them, they're very laid back, and they just seem to, it's brilliant, and they will talk. They will happily sit there and talk for hours, just about their careers and everything like that. So, and all of that's included in the price of your entry fee. You don't have to pay any, so you can literally buy an entry ticket, plonk yourself down in one of the ringside seats and listen to 40 of the 50 biggest wrestling stars of all time over the weekend do Q&As. If you want to do that, you can do that. I mean, all that for the price of an entry fee. It's absolutely ridiculous, as well as the prop builds. So we'll have the prop build as well, which are completely free and included within the price. I think we're looking to do if it's still cool at the time. The plan last year was to do the Firefly Funhouse, and things like the Spanish announce table, the old SmackDown entrance, the WCW Nitro entrance. But what we'll probably do is reassess those, because the Funhouse might not be cool next year. You might be doing something else. They're all included, and all the exhibits as well. So as well as having loads of wrestling traders there selling wrestling merchandise and things like that, all of the exhibits are included as well within the price of your entry ticket. That includes my collection, which is one of the biggest old school collections, probably in, not blowing me out of trumpet, but it's one of the biggest out there. Definitely, sort of over 2,000 items, all WWF branded, all in its original packaging. So, and then we've got a belt collection. We've got the original Hasbro collection, Galoob collections. Really, the real big collectors around Europe come and they exhibit at the events themselves, and all of that is included in the price of your entry fee. So, value for money. I mean, I went to WrestleCon. This is a WrestleCon T-shirt at WrestleMania 35, and I loved WrestleCon. I got to meet Jake the Snake, which was like my all-time grail meet, and that really was my grail meet. So. I liked WrestleCon, but WrestleCon was very much enter the building, go who you want to meet, pay them money, get their signature, get their picture, then move on to the next person. Yeah. And that's what WrestleCon is, and it's very, very good at what it does. It's very, very good at what it does. For Love of Wrestling, it's more of a festival of wrestling for 3 days, and there's so many things going on. And of course, you can do the meets and greets and the pictures and all that sort of stuff, but you can also go and sit down and play WrestleFest in the arcade zone for a bit. You can go and watch the Q&As for a bit. You can go and have your pictures taken at the prop builds for a bit. There's so much more going on over the weekend. And again, we mentioned about things that are included. That wrestling show that I mentioned on the Saturday night, you don't pay any more for that. You don't buy a separate ticket. It's all included within your entry fee.
That's amazing.
It is. That's for me.
When you say it like that, I think for the Love of Wrestling, for the people who've been to Access, it's closer to WWE Access than it is WrestleCon, given how interactive it is. You don't have to just go in and leave. You can go and do other things as well. There's so much more to do than just meeting people. And the great thing about Access is the amount of other wrestling fans you get to speak to while you're there. So I think that's the selling point for it, is you do get to go and meet all these great wrestlers, but also there's all this other stuff you can do. And it's included in the price of admission, which is incredible.
It is. It really is. And you're exactly, you nailed it. One of the best things, and probably one of the things that's sort of hardest to sort of explain to people, is you are going to be in a building with perhaps 5,000 to 10,000 other wrestling fans, and you will make friends, and you will make friends for life. I made some great friends at the last event that still keep in touch with on a daily basis now. People that we've got our group as well, and people love the fact that they because it's been a bit niche, and some people were didn't want to come to the first one because they were a bit socially awkward, or they felt a bit nervous. They didn't like crowds. They didn't think they were going to be welcomed. And they've built massive friendships up now over it as well. So it is literally 5 to 10,000 people just like you having the weekend of their life, and watching some amazing wrestling, hearing about some amazing wrestling, and meeting some of their all-time dream stars.
I think that's it. I think wrestling fans, we're almost like a special breed, aren't we? If you're not a wrestling fan, you kind of look down upon almost. So
yes.
to be able to go, like you said, to go and mingle and meet all these fans, it's one of the best experiences. We went to All In and did Starcast.
Yeah.
We just got talking to so many fans, and that to me was just as good as meeting these wrestlers.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was just such a fun thing. Like with the Q&As, I look forward to the Q&As. I'm old school like you. I love listening to the stories. That's something I can't wait for. But just going back, obviously, as well, you mentioned at WWE and the relationship. I mean, how important has that been for you? Because I always say to Callum, with us doing this, building these relationships is such an important thing for us.
Oh yeah, completely. Andy's complete. Because I've worked at, not just for Love of Wrestling, but I've worked at some of Andy's other events, and he's exceptionally, professional. And you do only get one chance to make a first impression, and WWE have been very impressed with what they've seen. They're obviously very impressed with the relationship that he's built with them, and Andy's, not just the wrestling events. We also did an event with The Undertaker in Germany. Was it last year or the year before, last 2020, where we did an event in Dusseldorf as well. So I think, the Monopoly events has got a wonderful relationship with WWE. And I think that's come from feedback that they've had from people who've been involved in the events previously. That can be the only way that they've heard about this. So yeah, it is, of course it's important, because you're not going to get, you'll get the older guys. You'll get the guys who perhaps aren't involved with WWE anymore. You'll perhaps get the independent ones. You'll get some of the AEW guys. But those guys that are tied to WWE contracts, if you don't have a great relationship with WWE, you won't be getting them. And that's why I've been able to get Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy's proved to be one of the most popular guests ever. I mean, he's up there he's up there with Brett and Flair. I mean, he's almost like he's like a pop star. Well, he is like a pop star. Rock star, isn't he? Yeah, he's like all of that in sort of very, very cool sort of. He's almost like a Marvel superhero, wrestler, stroke rock star. I mean, all the girls love him, and lots of the lads love him as well. So he's a total package, Jeff Hardy. So yeah, really, really looking forward to seeing him and spending some time with him.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask as well, just because I'm an Undertaker guy. Is he as cool as I think he is?
Do you know, it's funny, because whenever we post anything on any of our social media channels about pictures from our events with The Undertaker, you'll always get those cynical comments of, oh God, he looks happy to be there. Or when people post pictures when they met him at any of our events, because he's done quite a few of them now, I'll get, oh yeah, he's obviously having a great time. And I mean, nobody wants to meet The Undertaker smiling like a Cheshire cat. Nobody wants to meet The Undertaker. So what people sort of really need to grasp is, whenever any Undertaker's staring in a very grumbly way, that's because he's being The Undertaker, because he wants people to get The Undertaker experience.
Look at him on the picture behind you. Is he smiling on there? Like,
no, exactly. That's what I mean.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, but that's what people say. Some people, you get the odd person who's disappointed to go to a wrestling convention and the guys aren't in the ring gear or gimmicked up and things like that. So you can never please everybody. But as soon as that camera gets turned off, and as soon as you get, because we were lucky enough to spend some time with him in Dusseldorf. One of the most surreal moments of my life. I ended up clubbing with him in Dusseldorf in a discotheque, which is a funny story in itself, because I speak a little bit of German, so Andy was trying to help get us in and stuff like that, and there was 2 German bouncers there, and it was actually quite called discotheque, which was quite funny, because throw back to the 80s German clubs, and like the Alex Wright type music, and so we were talking to 2 German bouncers. One of them English was better than the other. And one of them says, Undertaker. I said, yeah, the Undertaker's with us. So do you mind if we, mind coming in? If you got somewhere we can sit in? We didn't really want to plonk him down in the middle of the floor like it was an exhibition. He just wanted to chill out, have a few JDs, and just kick back, because we had the show the next day. And the other bouncer wasn't having it at all. He was saying, no, he's a tribute, fake Undertaker. I'm like he's like 6'10" or something like that. I was like, you get good tribute acts, but they're not that good. So that was a really surreal moment. But no, he's such a warm, lovely, softly spoken guy. I mean, he exudes. I mean, you know, when we talk now about it factor of certain people having it factor. I mean, you just know when he's in the room, and I mean, he's just got this
got a presence.
Yeah, like a bit of a sinister presence where you know it's weird, but no, to sit down and have a chat with him and have a beer with him. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and we had a WWE representative there who's also a big football fan. Taker's a huge NFL fan, so we were sort of just sat kicking back, having a few beers. You know, he's a really, really warm, lovely guy, and very, very kind, very humble. I mean, the first we worked with him all day in Dusseldorf, and the first thing he did was get us all over to the bar in the hotel and bought us all a drink. I mean, he didn't ask us if we wanted a drink. He just bought.
That's
us.
Awesome.
He bought
the Undertaker bought you a drink.
Yeah, he bought us a drink and just wanted to say thank you to us all. So we all sat there, we're drinking JD with the Undertaker, and I was sort of had to pinch myself a couple of times, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, no, he's lovely. He's such a nice, warm guy. Very, very humble and very, very appreciative of all his fans.
What a surreal sentence! You went to a discotheque with the Undertaker.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. But brilliant. I mean, you know, it's as a 30 odd years wrestling fan. I mean, I had to pinch myself that weekend, but yeah, it was great. And the German fans are. I've read it was great as well because, like you say, the fans as well. Because I'd read a lot about German fans because Dynamite Kid mentions them in his book. Bret Hart's very passionate because Bret Hart is probably bigger than any wrestler in Germany. And you read a lot of the books. William Regal mentions them as well. So I was really excited about meeting the German fans, and they're just like us. They just like to watch wrestling, chant loudly, have a few beers, and have a lot of fun. They're really, really cool guys.
And is the potential for Taker to come back at another event in years to come?
Well, funnily enough, we've just done a signing with him. So for anybody who's not aware, we all of our past guests, and also while the pandemic's been on, we've done a lot of signings with people like, you know, Lex Luger, Bret Hart, the Outsiders, Jake the Snake. We've done a signing with, and we've just done one with Shawn Michaels. We've also just done one with Taker. So we've still got a fantastic relationship with him. And I mean, like, it's weird because if I take the Facebook page, for instance, you know, the Facebook page when we did the first event was maybe around 7,000 people. It's, you know, over 30,000 or something now. Yeah. So lots of people want us to get the first lineup back for next year. But, you know, that wouldn't make sense because, but I think anybody who's been to Full of Wrestling, including the Undertaker, Hart, Flair, all those type of people, I'm sure we'll like to get them back at a future event. What we're trying to do, and what Andy's trying to do, is he's trying to book guests and arrange lineups for pictures that really work. So what I mean by that is, like, when we had Hall, Nash, and Bischoff last year, you could obviously get the NWO photo, and obviously, you know, things like that. And when we had DiBiase and Virgil there last year, we could get that photo. And we're having DiBiase back again because we've got IRS Mike Rotunda coming over, so obviously you can get the Money Inc. photo. Yeah. I'm hoping to get Jimmy Hart as well because Jimmy Hart was back last year, so he came to us in 2019. What a guy he is! I mean, like,
yeah, I've met Jimmy. He's a lovely guy, isn't he? He really is.
He is, and the guy must sleep about 45 minutes a day, and he's. All he ever wants to know is, what can I do to help you? What can I do to help you? What would you like to know? He's such a warm guy. So yeah, I'm sure everybody will be back, but you know, it's about trying to make those one-off photos really, really work. I mean, obviously we've got Victoria, Tori Wilson.
Was it Candice Michelle?
Candice Michelle. So we've got Vince's Devils, so they're going to be doing a group photo. And what the next line? I imagine what the next lineups will be. It'll, you know, moving forward, it will be lineups where perhaps you can get group photos. I'm thinking, you know, not next year, but I'm thinking perhaps in the future. I mean, a really cool photo would perhaps be, you know, the TLC photo. So Dudley's, Edge and Christian, and the Hardys at some point in the future. Maybe get Bret Hart back if we ever manage to get Austin and do that sort of WrestleMania 13 photo. I mean, you get Hulk Hogan's obviously a name on a list. So you might have, you know, maybe if works, get Hogan over, and then you could bring Sid back, you can bring Slaughter over. I mean, and just do some wonderful photos as well. So what he tries to do is not just any old meet a wrestler and have your photo taken. He tries to make it special and tries to make the line up so you can sort of work with each other and you can get those one-off really cool photos.
Yeah, obviously I know before we start to wrap up, because I know Zoom doesn't give us forever. We did notice as well there's For Love of Horror coming as well.
Yeah,
there is.
We've started branched into a little bit of horror, speaking to a few horror creators. So what's the basis for that? I mean, that's October, is it?
It is. So we've got what's coming up this year. So this year we've got Comic Con Scotland, which I believe is October the 10th. We've got Comic Con Liverpool, which is November the 14th. And then I believe, and For Love of Horror is about the same time. And there's, but that again is a perfect example. For Love of Horror, similar to For Love of Wrestling, came from one of the original Comic Cons. A few horror guests got booked. Very quickly, it became abundant that they were popular, and there was appetite there to give them their own event. But For Love of Horror, I mean, like some of the guests have been announcing. They've got a couple of the guys from Scream. I mean, Meatloaf. Announcing Meatloaf. I'm so excited for Meatloaf. He'll be very, very cool.
Yeah.
I really want to get like a Fight Club poster or something signed by him. I really like Meatloaf. So yeah. But yeah, I mean, we've got Vampire Diaries coming up at Liverpool. I think we've got Dog the Bounty Hunter in Scotland.
Nice.
As well. Oh, wow. But we've got Jet from Gladiators in Scotland, and there's a few other people in Scotland. And Liverpool's started to get a bit of a Cobra Kai feel. So we've got Sensei Kreese from Cobra Kai. We've got Bobby from Karate Kid. We've got Mike Barnes from Karate Kid 3, Bobby from Karate Kid 1. So there's sort of something taking shape there.
I think we need to go to that, Jamie.
Yeah, man. We're Cobra Kai guys. I think you've sold us there, man.
Yeah, and we've just done a signing with all the Cobra Kai guys as well. So I'm sorry, I was saying before, yeah. So if you want any signed Taker stuff, Luger stuff, or if you want Cobra Kai stuff, or if you just want to see what we've got, because we've got even like horror fans, Lost Boys stuff, because we had the last horror they did a Lost Boys reunion. So Kiefer came over. With Jason Frank and people like that. So there's loads of Lost Boys. So look on www.actionforcetoys.co.uk and you'll be able to see any guest that's ever been at our events, Dolph Lundgren, people like that. Any guests at any of our events, there'll be signed stuff on there that we've still got. So we make sure that we do, Andy makes sure that he does lots of signings while people are over here, because he knows there's going to be appetite moving forward to people buy more stuff. And what Andy's great at, because I've got some of this stuff myself, actually. I've got a piece there that I've got recently from Taker. Andy thinks like a fan, so rather than just going right, well, I'll just buy a figure. He'll get some signed stuff, then create a one-of-a-kind piece. I saw a very cool thing recently. There was a Vampire Michael and also a David Lost Boys pops, but it got them framed and in a case that lit up with sort of a Lost Boys poster on the back. It was very, 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 very cool. So if you're looking for signed items or one-off bits, hit Action Force Toys.
Excellent, man. Well, before I wrap up, first of all, you mentioned Dr. Bounty Hunter. I've got his autobiography, so I'll be making sure I get to that one. But before we do let you go, man, do you want to plug For Love of Wrestling again? Let everyone know what's coming up in April next year.
Yeah, exactly. So For Love of Wrestling will take place next year. It'll be at the Exhibition Centre in Liverpool on King's Dock. If you want to find out about it, your best place is jump onto Facebook, For the Love of Wrestling. We've got a page and a group which are both logoed up. The page has got about 30,000 fans, so that's the one you're looking for. Keep your eye on that. We've just confirmed Jeff Hardy, JB Hell and HBK. They're the first 3 reconfirmed guests for next year, and we're probably looking at putting another 40 guests out there as well before then. Really? So yeah, jump on the For Love of Wrestling page to keep up to date with everything, and also there's forloveofwrestling.co.uk as well. You can add yourself to the mailing list if you want to get the updates by email. But yeah, even if you're thinking to yourself, not sure who I want to meet, just get yourself an entry ticket. And if you don't, if there's nobody, if on the off chance that you're that one person in the world that the lineup doesn't appeal to you, get yourself an entry ticket. Come and hang out with 15,000 wrestling fans over a weekend. Have the time of your life. Watch some great wrestling. Meet people like you. We've gone from been a wrestling fan 30 years. Gone from being the uncool kid in the corner of the playground to now having our very, very own event. So yeah, it's unbelievable stuff.
No, it's perfect, man. So we're going to be there. I mean, hopefully we can talk to you again before the next event.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, 100%. Get in touch before the event, and we can talk about. We know because obviously we don't really know what the lineup's going to look like by then. I'm sure there'll be a few surprises along the way. And closer to the event, we'll be able to tell you more about the wrestling shows that are going on. We've got the after party as well, which some of the wrestlers turned up to last year. So it is a 3-day wrestling extravaganza, to use that term. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, please, everybody come down and join us.
Hell yeah, man. Yeah, we'll stay in touch, definitely. But for now, James, from Love of Wrestling, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.